Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wan Muhammad Ashraf bin Wan Zawawi. I would like to present my individual assignment about business analytics and financial modeling, FIN534. I was prepared for Dr. Irfah Najihah Basimalan, and I'm from group BA 2423C. I would like to start with introduction. I take my data from previous assignment, which is W. In that my previous assignment, I take one country and one indicator, which mean international migration. For the introduction, I would like to start. International migration in Malaysia refers to the movement of people across national borders into or out of the country. Malaysia has a rich history of international migration shaped by economic, social and political factors. The country's strategic location in Southeast Asia, coupled with its dynamic economy, has attracted a diverse range of migrants from various parts of the world. Historically, Malaysia has been a destination for labour migration, with a significant number of foreign workers coming to the country to fill various jobs in industries such as construction, manufacturing, and agriculture. The government has implemented various policies to regulate and manage the influx of foreign workers, addressing issues related to labour market demands and social integration. One of the key drivers of international migration in Malaysia is economic opportunity. The country has experienced rapid economic growth over the past few decades, attracting both skilled and unskilled labour from neighbouring countries and beyond. Foreign workers often seek employment opportunities in Malaysia to improve their economic prospect and support their family back home. In addition to economic migration, Malaysia has also been a destination for refugees and asylum seekers. The country has hosted a significant number of displaced individuals, particularly from countries facing conflicts and persecution. The government, along with international organizations, has been involved in managing refugee population and addressing their humanitarian needs. Okay, for the second slide, I would like to introduce about interpretation of descriptive statistics. Based on the diagram I have provided, that was a data for my assignments, which mean I calculate mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation, coefficient of variation, skewness, kurtosis, minimum and maximum in Excel. So, what is descriptive statistic? Descriptive statistics are used to compile and assess the total number of cases of reported international migration in Malaysia, allowing for a general understanding of their prevalence. We can ascertain whether there has been an increase or reduction in international migration between 2012 and 2021 by performing descriptive statistics on the number of reported international migration in Malaysia, along with determining if the patterns are favourable or bad. The analysis will also determine whether they pose a serious threat to the nation. So, I would like to start with mean. What is mean? Mean is the average of the data that has been prepared for a specific range. Is called the mean. It is the value we will obtain by flattening or smoothing all the various data values into a single dependable number. The mean is computed by taking the total value of the data set and dividing it by the total number of data sets. The statistic indicates that Malaysia average international migration rate is 1.066%. For the median, what is median? Median is a data set, its median value. It is the number that divides the data collection in half or into two equal size groups. Values that are larger than or equal to the median are found in one half of the data, while values that are less than or equal to the median are found in the other half. We must rank the number from least to largest in order to find the median. Next, take the two middle data points and calculate to the data average. As a result, 1.619 is the median of international migration between 2012 and 2021. For the modes, in technical terms, mode refer to the value that appears more frequently in the dataset. A dataset has no mode if each value appears exactly once. It is also feasible for data collections to contain multiple modes. The dataset repeated value in my instance is 1.596%, and it occurs in 2017 and 2018. This indicates that over the course of the dataset 10 years, Malaysia international migration rate percentage has been constant over these 2 years. For the variance and standard deviation is the amount of variance in a distribution is measured using standard deviations, while results with higher standard deviations are dispersed throughout a wide range. Those with low standard deviation are closer to the mean. The value for the sample variance and standard deviation are 0.080705378% and 0.2840686% is respectively. The year do not differ significantly in rates. For the skewness is in distribution theory, skewness is the third moment. Positive or negative results are possible depending on the skewness. If there were notable positive return on the right side of the distribution, we would, however, generally choose a positive skewness with a larger probability. I have positive skewness, which means 2.93298843% for my data, because the left side of the skewness P is where the skewness is highest. The skewness is to the right, indicating that the international migration rate has exceeded 1.7066% over the past 10 years. The kurtosis, I would like to share about my diagram in this slide, which means they have leptokurtic kurtosis. So what is kurtosis? It is used to determine how the value distributed around the mean for the kurtosis. Kurtosis is normal distribution is often, which means mesokurtic or around 3. Approximately 3 is a recommended value. The kurtosis number for my data is 8.935734.851%, which is above 3 and is referred to as leptokurtic because the data spread over the base. This indicates that the tail is lighter and distribution is even. We can conclude from the fact that Malaysia international migration is declining annually. The scatter plot below illustrates this, showing a downward tendency in the graph trend. The tendency depends on the level of both documented and undocumented migration workers. Like you can see, the diagram that I will provide about international migration. The graph is follow constant then declining stage. For the maximum and minimum. Minimum and maximum are the names of the two lowest and highest value in the data sets, respectively. Sorting the data set in decreasing order will make it simple to identify these values. Accordingly, the data lowest value is 1.538%, corresponds to 2021. In Malaysia, 1.538% was reported as the international migration is lower point. Additionally, 2012 represent the maximum value in the dataset, which means 2.499%, prior to declining by 2.499% to 1.538% in 2021. Malaysia international migration was higher in 2012. For the last part for this assignment presentation, I would like to tell about hypothesis testing. What is hypothesis testing? Hypothesis testing is a survey or experiment significance can be ascertained using the hypothesis test. Hypothesis is a counter argument to two proposition that aims to determine the significance of one or more population parameters. The method of testing a hypothesis involves 5 steps. Prior to running the test, we need to ascertain the alternate hypothesis, which is H1, and null hypothesis, which is HO. In this investigation, a one-tail test will be employed, as I will solely be examining the direct data, specifically the rate of international migration in Malaysia. But in case when there are difference between the entities being compared, a two-tail test might be suitable. A two-tail test can be used to compare Malaysia international migration against that of another nation, such as Singapore. Without using a direct test strategy, two-tail tests seek to identify positive or negative difference between two groups. Furthermore, one-tail tests have a larger statistical likelihood of significance than two-tail tests due to the superior statistical power. For my hypothesis test is HO, mean international migration, more than or equal to 1.5. For the H1, which means mean international migration, is lower than 1.5. From this hypothesis testing, I have provided the step or how to calculate t-test, critical t-test, and p-value. And I have input also the calculations. So I would like to explain more details, which is for this set of data, my null hypothesis H0 is 1.5, meaning that the fertility rate can be either equal to or higher than 1.5%. It will be taken for granted until more evidence contradicts it. As for my alternate hypothesis, I have said that it is 1.5, which means that for the result to be considered true, it must be less than 1.5. In hypothesis testing, HO is always taken to be true. Therefore, sample data can be examined to see if H1 has a higher probability for being true. Strong statistical evidence showing the alternate hypothesis H1 is true and the null hypothesis H0 is false will be presented in the event that the null hypothesis is rejected. I must then decide on a relevant level. The alpha will be set to 0.05 or 5%. In order to run this test, the possibility of discovering an incorrect result in the null hypothesis is represented by the alpha level, commonly referred to as the significance level. As such, our chance of finding a difference are only 5%, and the outcome could be inaccurate. Choosing the test statistic is the next step. Z-test statistic and t-test statistic are the two categories of test statistic. Which test statistics are utilized depend on the type of hypothesis test. If we are aware of the true value, we utilize Z-test statistic. If not, we use t-test statistic. I choose to utilize the t-test because I am unsure of the true value. I must first calculate the average international migration rate from 2012 to 2021 in order for this formula to function. The rate is 1.066%. The square root of the 10 sample is 3.1 163 and the data standard deviation is 0.2841%. Consequently, 2.299741807% is the outcome of the t-test statistic. In order to determine rejection and non-rejection regions, as well as whether to accept 1.5 as the average international migration or not, I have chosen to employ the crucial t-test and the decision rule. The null hypothesis is rejected when the test statistic is within the rejection range. However, it is not rejected if it is inside the non-rejection zone. It is necessary to utilize the t-test value of 2.3. In conclusion, from the diagram that I have provided, drawing a decision rule is what I need to do for the fourth phase. The preceding graphic illustrates why, given the critical t-test value of negative 0.183, I do not reject the null hypothesis. This is due to the fact that the t-test value of 2.3 is within the non-rejection area. I utilize the p-value methodologies to support this assertion by determining if H0 can be accepted and H1 will be rejected. Generally speaking, the null hypothesis is rejected if the p-value is less than alpha. Conversely, if the p-value is greater than alpha, the null hypothesis is not rejected. Since my p-value is higher than alpha, which is 0.05 in this distance, the data should not be disregarded. Drawing a conclusion for the hypothesis test is the final stage. Based on the findings of the hypothesis test, I do not rule out H0 of 1.5 as the average rate of international migration in Malaysia between 2012 and 2021. Since the results successfully accept H0, I can draw the conclusion that there is sufficient data to back up the assertion that, on average, Malaysia may see 1.5% or more of international migration between 2012 and 2021. In summary, the analysis of a given data set necessitates the use of descriptive statistic and hypothesis testing. With the help of descriptive statistics, one may easily discover the fundamental details of the variable value in a data collection. Concurrently, testing hypotheses aim to identify, finding out if there is any evidence to support the theory or the assertion made concerning an attribute.